My name is Carlos, and I've spent most of my life on a ranch in the small town of Mokele-Mbembe, Texas. The town is quiet, surrounded by vast expanses of farmland and open fields. Growing up, I heard tales of the legendary chupacabra, a creature that supposedly preyed on livestock, leaving behind drained corpses with mysterious puncture wounds. These stories were mostly shared around campfires and during late-night gatherings, but I never gave them much credence. That is, until the summer of 2023. Our family ranch, El Rancho Grande, has been in our family for generations. We raise cattle and goats, and our livelihood depends on the health and safety of our animals. In early June, we started noticing something strange. Several goats were found dead, their bodies completely drained of blood, with peculiar puncture marks on their necks. At first, we suspected wild animals, maybe coyotes or bobcats, but the wounds were unlike anything we had ever seen. My father, a pragmatic man, dismissed the idea of the chupacabra as mere superstition. However, as more animals turned up dead, even he began to question what could be causing these attacks. Determined to protect our livestock and uncover the truth, I decided to investigate the matter myself. One evening, I set up a series of trail cameras around the ranch, focusing on the areas where the attacks had occurred. I also made sure to keep a close watch on the animals, staying up late into the night to see if I could catch a glimpse of the predator. The nights were long and eerie, the silence occasionally broken by the distant howls of coyotes and the rustle of leaves in the wind. After a week of sleepless nights and uneventful footage, I was starting to lose hope. Then, one night, as I was patrolling the far side of the ranch, I heard a series of low growls coming from the goat pen. My heart raced as I crept closer, a flashlight cutting through the darkness. As I approached, I saw a shadowy figure hunched over one of the goats. It was unlike any animal I had ever seen. The creature was about the size of a large dog, with spiky, reptilian scales covering its body. Its eyes glowed a fierce red in the beam of my flashlight, and it had long, sharp fangs that gleamed in the darkness. I froze, unable to believe what I was seeing. The chupacabra was real, and it was standing right in front of me. The creature let out a guttural snarl, and I stumbled backward, dropping my flashlight. In the chaos, the chupacabra darted into the shadows, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. I scrambled to pick up my flashlight and hurried back to the house, my mind racing with fear and excitement. The next morning, I reviewed the footage from the trail cameras. To my astonishment, one of the cameras had captured a clear image of the chupacabra. The creature was just as I had seen, it reptilian, with sharp fangs and glowing red eyes. I showed the footage to my father and the rest of the family, and for the first time, we all believed in the legend of the chupacabra. News of our discovery spread quickly, and soon our ranch was swarming with journalists, researchers, and curious onlookers. Some were skeptical, while others were convinced that we had found definitive proof of the chupacabra's existence. Among the visitors was Dr. Elena Ramirez, a cryptozoologist who had spent years studying reports of the chupacabra across Latin America. Dr. Ramirez was fascinated by our footage and eager to conduct a thorough investigation. She set up a base of operations at the ranch, bringing with her an array of scientific equipment and a team of researchers. Together, we worked to uncover more evidence and understand the behavior of the chupacabra. As we delved deeper into the mystery, we discovered that the chupacabra was more than just a bloodthirsty predator. It seemed to exhibit a cunning intelligence, avoiding our traps and evading capture at every turn. We also learned that the creature's attacks followed a pattern, occurring in cycles that coincided with certain lunar phases. One night, while reviewing the latest footage, we noticed something unusual. The chupacabra seemed to be targeting specific animals, leaving others untouched. Dr. Ramirez hypothesized that the creature might be selecting its prey based on certain criteria, perhaps related to the animal's health or behavior. This theory added a new layer of complexity to our investigation. Determined to gather more data, We set up a series of infrared cameras and motion sensors around the ranch. We also implemented tighter security measures to protect the livestock, including reinforced enclosures and regular patrols. Despite our efforts, the chupacabra continued to elude us, striking with terrifying precision and then vanishing into the night. As the weeks went by, the atmosphere at the ranch grew tense. The constant threat of attack weighed heavily on us, and we were no closer to capturing the creature. Then, one night, everything changed. It was a clear, moonlit evening, and I was patrolling the perimeter of the ranch with Dr. Ramirez. We were discussing the latest developments when we heard a series of frantic bleats coming from the goat pen. We rushed over, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. There, in the middle of the pen, stood the chupacabra. It was crouched over one of the goats, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. This time, however, it didn't flee. Instead, it turned to face us, baring its fangs in a menacing snarl. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I raised my flashlight, trying to get a better look at the creature. Dr. Ramirez began to take photos, her camera clicking rapidly. The chupacabra let out a blood-curdling scream and lunged at us. But before it could reach us, it was stopped by an invisible barrier, the reinforced enclosure we had built around the pen. The creature clawed at the barrier, its eyes filled with rage. For a moment, I thought it might break through, but then it seemed to realize that it was trapped. With a final, furious snarl, it turned and leapt over the fence, disappearing into the night. The encounter left us shaken but determined. We had come closer than ever to capturing the chupacabra, and we were not about to give up. Over the next few days, we reviewed the footage and analyzed the photos, piecing together a clearer picture of the creature's behavior and capabilities. Dr. Ramirez published a detailed report on our findings, which garnered significant attention from the scientific community. While some remained skeptical, others saw our evidence as a breakthrough in the study of cryptozoology. The chupacabra, once a creature of legend, was now a subject of serious scientific inquiry. Our ranch, however, was still under siege. The chupacabra continued to attack, its cunning and ferocity undiminished. We knew that capturing or neutralizing the creature was our only option. With the help of Dr. Ramirez and her team, we devised a plan to trap the chupacabra and put an end to its reign of terror. Using a combination of high-tech traps and traditional methods, we set up a series of baited enclosures around the ranch. We also enlisted the help of local hunters and trackers, hoping their expertise would give us an edge. It was a risky plan, but we were determined to see it through. One fateful night, as the full moon rose over the ranch, we prepared for the final showdown. I joined the patrols, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. As the hours passed, the tension grew unbearable. Then, just before dawn, we heard the unmistakable growl of the chupacabra. The creature had taken the bait, entering one of the reinforced enclosures. We watched in tense silence as it struggled against the trap, its eyes glowing with fury. With a final, desperate lunge, the chupacabra triggered the mechanism, and the enclosure snapped shut, trapping it inside. We approached cautiously, our flashlights illuminating the creature's menacing form. The chupacabra thrashed and snarled, but it was securely contained. For the first time, we had captured the legendary beast. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Scientists and researchers flocked to the ranch, eager to study the chupacabra up close. The creature was examined, photographed, and documented in meticulous detail. It was a landmark moment in the field of cryptozoology, and our ranch became the center of a media frenzy. Despite the excitement, there was also a sense of unease. The chupacabra was a living testament to the mysteries of the natural world. A reminder that there are still creatures out there that defy explanation. As we watched the scientists work, I couldn't help but feel a deep respect for the creature that had eluded us for so long. In the end, the chupacabra was transferred to a secure research facility, where it would be studied further. Our ranch slowly returned to normal. The threat of attack finally lifted. But the legend of the Chupacabra lived on, a story of fear, fascination, and the enduring mystery of the unknown. As for me, the experience left a lasting impression. I had come face to face with the creature of legend, a beast that defied understanding and challenged everything I thought I knew about the world. The Chupacabra was more than just a monster, it was a symbol of the wild, untamed forces that still lurk in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. My name is Emma, and I grew up in the quiet town of Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Nestled in Walworth County, our town is known for its serene landscapes, friendly community, and as I would come to learn, the terrifying legend of the Beast of Bray Road. As a child, I heard whispered tales of this creature, werewolf-like beast that prowled the rural roads and farmlands. I dismissed these stories as mere folklore, never imagining that I would one day encounter the beast myself. In the summer of 2023, I returned to Elkhorn after completing my journalism degree. Eager to start my career, I took a job at the local newspaper, the Elkhorn Observer. My editor, Mr. Thompson, was a grizzled veteran of the news business who had covered everything from local politics to strange occurrences. When he assigned me to investigate the recent sightings of the Beast of Bray Road, I was both excited and skeptical. "People have been seeing something out there, Mr. Thompson said, handing me a folder of reports. "Could be a bear, could be a prank. But if there's a story, I want you to find it." I began my investigation by talking to locals who claimed to have seen the beast. Their accounts were eerily similar descriptions of a large wolf-like creature that walked on two legs, with glowing eyes and a menacing presence. Some witnesses were too frightened to speak on record, while others eagerly shared their experiences, hoping to warn the community about the creature that stalked Bray Road. One of the most compelling accounts came from a farmer named Joe, whose property bordered Bray Road. Joe was a no-nonsense man, not given to flights of fancy. When I visited his farm, he showed me the spot where he had encountered the beast. "It was late at night," Joe said, his voice trembling slightly. "I was out checking on the cattle when I saw it. Big, like a man, but covered in fur. Its eyes, they glowed red in the flashlight beam. It stared at me for what felt like an eternity before it turned and disappeared into the woods." Joe's description sent chills down my spine. Determined to gather more evidence, I decided to stake out Bray Road. Armed with a camera, a flashlight, and a notebook, I spent several nights parked on the side of the road, watching and waiting. The nights were long and eerie, with the rustle of leaves and the distant howls of coyotes keeping me on edge. On the fourth night, as I was about to call it quits, I saw something moving in the distance. My heart raced as I grabbed my camera and focused the lens. There, at the edge of the woods, was a shadowy figure. It was tall, with broad shoulders and a hunched posture. The creature stepped into the moonlight, and I could see its fur glistening in the pale glow. I snapped a few photos, my hands shaking with fear and excitement. The beast turned its head, and for a brief moment, our eyes locked. Its gaze was intense, almost intelligent, and I felt a primal fear wash over me. Then, with a powerful leap, it vanished into the darkness. I sat in my car, trying to process what I had just witnessed. The Beast of Bray Road was real, and I had the photos to prove it. The next day, I showed the photos to Mr. Thompson. He was impressed but cautious. "This is big, Emma," he said. "But we need more. Keep digging, and see if you can find any other evidence." Encouraged by his words, I continued my investigation. I reached out to cryptozoologists, local historians, and anyone who might have insight into the creature. One name kept coming up: Linda Godfrey, an author and researcher who had written extensively about the Beast of Bray Road. I contacted Dr. Godfrey and arranged to meet her at a local cafe. She was a petite woman, with a warm smile and an air of quiet authority. Over coffee, she shared her extensive knowledge of the beast. "The sightings date back to the 1930s, Dr. Godfrey explained. People have described a large, bipedal creature, often resembling a werewolf. It's been seen in various locations around Bray Road and beyond. Some believe it might be a misidentified animal, while others think it's something more supernatural. Dr. Godfrey showed me sketches and old newspaper clippings, painting a vivid picture of the creature's history. She also mentioned a series of unusual animal mutilations that had occurred in the area, which some believed were connected to the beast. Intrigued by this new lead, I visited the local animal control office to see if there were any recent reports of mutilations or attacks. The officer on duty, a gruff man named Tom, was initially dismissive, but softened when he saw my determination. "Yeah, we've had some strange cases," Tom admitted. "Cattle, deer, even a few pets. Always the same deep gashes, broken bones, and the bodies left in unnatural positions. It's not something a normal predator would do." Tom showed me the reports, and the details were chilling. The injuries were consistent with something powerful and violent. Yet there were no signs of typical predatory behavior, like feeding on the carcasses. It was as if the attacks were meant to terrorize rather than sustain. Armed with this information, I decided to return to Bray Road, this time with the team. I enlisted the help of my friend Mark, a wildlife photographer, and his sister Lisa, an amateur cryptozoologist. Together, we set up a series of motion-activated cameras and infrared sensors along the road and the surrounding woods. For several nights, we camped out, taking turns monitoring the equipment. The atmosphere was tense, and every rustle of leaves or distant animal call set us on edge. On the third night, our patience paid off. The motion sensors detected movement, and the cameras captured a series of images. In the photos, we saw the beast of Bray Road, moving stealthily through the trees. Its fur was matted and dark, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The creature's posture was both animalistic and eerily human, a disturbing blend of predator and man. We also noticed something else: the scratch marks on the trees, as if the beast was marking its territory. Excited by our findings, we presented the evidence to Mr. Thompson. He was stunned by the clarity of the photos and the depth of our investigation. "This is incredible, Emma," he said. "We'll run the story, but we need to be careful. This could cause a lot of panic." The article was published, and the reaction was immediate. The town was abuzz with talk of the beast of Bray Road, and our newspaper received a flood of calls and emails from people claiming to have seen the creature. Some were supportive, while others accused us of fabricating the story. Despite the mixed reactions, we continued our investigation. Dr. Godfrey joined us in the field, bringing her expertise and insight. We expanded our search area, following reports of sightings and strange occurrences. Each night, we uncovered more evidence: tracks, fur samples, and even recordings of the beast's haunting growls. One night, as we were setting up our equipment, we heard a series of low, guttural sounds coming from the woods. We grabbed our cameras and flashlights, moving cautiously towards the noise. As we approached, we saw the creature, standing at the edge of a clearing. The beast of Bray Road was even more terrifying up close. Its fur was thick and dark, its muscles rippling beneath its skin. The creature's eyes glowed with an unsettling intelligence, and its teeth were long and sharp. It stared at us for a moment, then let out a deafening roar that echoed through the trees. We stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Then, the beast turned and disappeared into the darkness. We followed cautiously, our flashlights flickering in the night. As we moved deeper into the woods, we found a series of large, clawed footprints, leading to a hidden cave. Inside the cave, we discovered a collection of bones and animal carcasses, evidence of the beast's predatory nature. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the walls were marked with deep scratches. It was clear that we had found the lair of the beast of Bray Road. We documented everything, taking photos and samples. As we left the cave, we felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. We had uncovered the truth behind the legend. But we also knew that the beast was still out there, lurking in the shadows. Our findings were published in a series of articles, attracting national attention. The story of the Beast of Bray Road became a sensation, drawing researchers, thrill-seekers, and skeptics to our small town. The local authorities increased patrols and issued warnings, urging residents to stay indoors after dark. Despite the heightened awareness, sightings of the beast continued. Each encounter was a reminder of the creature's elusive and dangerous nature. For me, the experience was both terrifying and enlightening. I had come face to face with a legend and lived to tell the tale. The Beast of Bray Road remains one of the most enigmatic and feared creatures in cryptozoology. Its existence challenges our understanding of the natural world and reminds us that there are still mysteries waiting to be uncovered. As I continue my career in journalism, I carry with me the lessons I learned from my encounter. With the beast, courage, curiosity, and a respect for the unknown. My name is Dr. Laura Harris, and I am an archaeologist specializing in ancient civilizations of Central Asia. For the past decade, I have dedicated my life to uncovering the mysteries buried beneath the vast expanses of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. The desert is a harsh and unforgiving place, where temperatures can soar during the day and plummet at night, and where sandstorms can rise without warning. It is also the home of many legends and myths, the most terrifying of which is the tale of the Mongolian deathworm. The Mongolian deathworm, known locally as Olgoikorkoi, is said to be a creature of nightmares. Descriptions vary, but most agree that it is a large, red worm, about 2 to 5 feet long, capable of spitting venom and discharging electric shocks. The very mention of the deathworm can strike fear into the hearts of the locals, who believe it to be a harbinger of death and misfortune. I first heard about the Mongolian deathworm from my colleague, Dr. Tumen, a native Mongolian and fellow archaeologist. He recounted stories from his childhood, of shepherds and travelers, who had disappeared without a trace, and of animals found dead with no apparent cause. Despite the fearsome reputation of the deathworm, I was skeptical. I considered it to be another desert legend, a tale to keep children close to home, and to explain the inexplicable. In the summer of 2023, I led an expedition into the heart of the Gobi Desert, accompanied by a team of international researchers and local guides. Our mission was to excavate a recently discovered site believed to be the remnants of an ancient nomadic settlement. We hoped to uncover artifacts that would shed light on the history and culture of the people who once thrived in this inhospitable landscape. The first few weeks of the expedition were uneventful. We set up camp near the site and began our excavation, carefully sifting through the sand and debris. The work was slow and meticulous, but we were rewarded with fragments of pottery, tools, and even a few skeletal remains. The excitement of discovery fueled our efforts, and we pushed deeper into the desert, determined to uncover more. One evening, as we gathered around the campfire, our lead guide, Batu, began to speak of the Mongolian deathworm. His voice was low and serious, and the other guides listened with rapt attention. He told us of a recent sighting, just a few miles from our camp, where a shepherd had found several of his goats dead, their bodies bloated and discolored. "The deathworm is real," Batu said, his eyes reflecting the firelight. "It moves through the sand like a fish through water. It can kill with a touch, and its venom can paralyze a man in seconds. We must be careful." The other members of the expedition exchanged uneasy glances, but I remained skeptical. "There must be a rational explanation," I said. "Perhaps the goats were bitten by a snake or died of disease." Batu shook his head. "I have seen the marks left by the deathworm. They are unlike any snake bite or disease. If you wish to stay safe, you must respect the desert and its creatures." Despite Batu's warning, we continued our work undeterred. However, as the days passed, strange occurrences began to unsettle the team. We heard unexplained noises at night, like the slithering of something large moving through the sand. Some of our equipment malfunctioned without reason, and a few team members fell ill with symptoms that defy diagnosis. One morning, we awoke to find a deep trench in the sand, as if something large had burrowed through during the night. The sight of it sent a chill down my spine. Could the legends be true? Could there really be a creature lurking beneath the sands, watching and waiting? Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to set up a series of motion-activated cameras around the camp. If there was something out there, I wanted to capture it on film. The team was on edge, but we continued our excavation, hoping to distract ourselves from the growing sense of unease. On the fourth night, as I reviewed the footage from the cameras, my heart nearly stopped. One of the cameras had captured Mokele-Mbembe's shadowy figure slithering through the sand, its form indistinct but unmistakably worm-like. I called the team together and showed them the footage. The fear in their eyes mirrored my own. We debated what to do. Some wanted to abandon the expedition and return to safety, while others, like myself, were driven by a desire to understand the creature. We decided to stay, but with increased vigilance. We set up more cameras and sensors, hoping to gather more evidence. The following night, we were awakened by a blood-curdling scream. Rushing out of our tents, we found one of our researchers, Tom, convulsing on the ground. His skin was mottled and discolored, and his eyes were wide with terror. But two knelt beside him, muttering prayers under his breath. Despite our efforts to save him, Tom died within minutes. The loss of our colleague was devastating, and the fear among the team was palpable. But two insisted that the death worm had struck, and his conviction was unwavering. We were dealing with a creature that defied our understanding, a beast from legend that had become all too real. In the days that followed, we fortified our camp and took every precaution. We wore protective clothing, kept our distance from the sand, and doubled our watch. Despite our efforts, the sense of dread continued to grow. The death worm was out there, and it was watching us. One evening, as the sun set over the dunes, I decided to take a walk around the perimeter of the camp. The desert was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft crunch of sand underfoot. I was lost in thought when I heard a faint hissing noise behind me. I turned, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. There, emerging from the sand, was the Mongolian deathworm. It was larger than I had imagined, its body a deep, blood-red color, and its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The creature reared up, its mouth opening to reveal rows of sharp, needle-like teeth. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my chest. The deathworm lunged at me, and I stumbled backward, narrowly avoiding its venomous bite. I scrambled to my feet and ran back to the camp, shouting for help. The team emerged, armed with whatever tools and weapons we could find. We stood together, facing the creature that had haunted our nights. In the flickering light of our flashlights, the deathworm seemed to hesitate. It hissed and thrashed, but it did not advance. But two stepped forward, holding a large metal rod. He struck the ground with it, creating a loud, resonating sound. The deathworm recoiled, then retreated into the sand, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. We stood in stunned silence, trying to process what had just happened. But two explained that the vibrations from the rod had likely driven the creature away. It was a temporary solution, but it bought us some time. We needed to leave the desert, and quickly. The next morning, we packed up our camp and began the journey back to civilization. The trip was tense, with everyone on high alert, but we encountered no further sign of the deathworm. By the time we reached the safety of the nearest town, we were exhausted and shaken, but relieved to be alive. The encounter with the Mongolian deathworm changed everything. It challenged my skepticism and forced me to confront the reality of the unknown. The footage and evidence we gathered were shared with the scientific community, sparking debates and further investigations. Despite the danger, the experience deepened my respect for the legends and the people who live in the shadow of the Gobi Desert. The Mongolian deathworm remains a mystery, a creature that straddles the line between myth and reality. And as an archaeologist, I am reminded that the world is full of wonders and terrors, waiting to be discovered.